when you delegate, you've got to be okay with those people not doing it your way. Money's way easier to make than growing a family and keeping a family together. Just because you have $100 million or $500 million or $30 million, you got many millions of dollars, does not make you happy, does not make you satisfied, does not make you healthy. It just means you have a lot of money. I use the 1-3-1 rule, where if you've got a problem that you can't figure out, one, you can't just dump a problem on me.
Welcome to Leaders Gotta Lead. Join our leaders and hosts, Dan Gomer and Scott Harshman, as they bring you powerful strategies and insights to help you lead with purpose, impact, and unstoppable success.
Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of Leaders Gotta Lead. Today, we have got my friend, Chris Lawhead, on the show. Super excited to have Chris on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. So just a quick intro on Chris. He is a serial entrepreneur, many businesses. He's got a 20-year history in real estate, including lending and syndicating, flipping, and private equity deals on all the different aspects of real estate, multifamily, farmland, single-family homes, all that kind of stuff. He's the founder of a business that I am now a client in, which is Streamlined Business Media, the simplest, most streamlined media company around. They make me look good on social media, which is what it's really about. He also participates in jiu-jitsu. He's been an instructor, black belt there, dirt biking, snowboarding, all that kind of stuff.
Brown belt. You're going to get me beat up.
Brown belt. My bad. And the latest business adventure that he's taking on is called SprayNet, which is just taking off. Super high-end paint jobs, resurfacing all these different surfaces that nobody could really do before, stucco, aluminum siding, all that kind of stuff. And as he says here, SprayNet is the nerdiest painting company with a staff of chemists and painters applying patented products and processes to bring the factory-grade finish to your property on site. So,
nerd power.
What's that?
Nerd power.
Nerd power. That's right. So, yes, serial entrepreneur, I guess, is a bit of an understatement for everything that you've created. And before we jump into that, I just want to do a quick intro for the show. Like, what is the show here? Why do we have Chris on this show and all of these other people? And really, at the end of the day, Leaders Gotta Lead. This podcast is just about getting people like Chris on this show, like some of the other guests that we've had, people who are watching this. We want to talk to you. It's about just having conversations about leadership, because I believe that there's not enough people talking about it. There's not enough people openly sharing ideas about what it means to be a good leader and having this kind of knowledge out in the world. Because at the end of the day, the more people that are talking about leadership, the more everybody's going to be improving at it, and the better off the world is going to be. And so this is kind of our attempt at trying to make the world better by developing more leaders, by talking to other people in our community to just figure it out. So Chris, with that, what makes a good leader?
A good leader is someone who looks at the folks that they're leading as collaborators, as holistic human beings, as team members, not necessarily family, but team members, right? So if you're rallying a team, well, the scoreboard matters, right? If you have a family and one of your family members wants to smoke weed in their basement all day and not contribute anything to society, okay, you're still going to love them, right? Well, that's a family member. That doesn't cut it in a team, right? So team members got to produce, and the leader has to hold them accountable and make space for them to make mistakes and make space for them to grow, not only as business people, but as human beings. I grew up doing sports. I think of leaders as someone you just want to shoulder to shoulder, get into a scrap with, someone, that they have your back, that they're not going to tuck tail and run when things get hard, that they're not going to throw you under the bus when given the opportunity. So I know that's a kind of long-winded, hopscotchy answer, but it is just that. Do I want to, go to battle with this guy or this gal, whoever my leader is, and and then all the supporting aspects of that.
Leader that you kind of personify here, what is it about that person that makes them a good leader? Like, I heard you kind of talk about like they're collaborative, but like, how do you know that this is a person that you want to go into battle with? Like, I know that you've got business partners now, and you speak very highly of them. And, what is it about them that made you say, you know what? Yeah, like I'm willing to take this risk with you.
Yeah, so let's take my latest acquisition. I bought a SprayNet franchise, which is a high-end painting and resurfacing company with a bunch of patents, and we paint stuff that others won't, and factory finish, all that. And I brought on Peter Straub, who's an equity partner, and he leads the production team, and eventually he's going to run the whole company. And the reason I chose him, he was my jujitsu professor. We met on the jujitsu mats. And then he was my boss because I wanted to teach my kids jujitsu. So I got a part-time job, standard, dad move. I wanted to teach the kids jujitsu at their academy. So I went through his training and I watched him lead 70 people without a huge time commitment. I mean, I think he was leading 70 people in 15, 20 hours a week. So he had a good allocation of time. He had a great EQ and IQ. He's clearly smart. And clearly empathetic and offered grace and held people to high standards, right? So you can be empathetic and offer grace for mistakes and keep your staff, running at a high efficiency, high standard level. And that's a mix of watching him have tough conversations. That's a mix of watching him step in when he needed to step in, and then also not step in when it was time for that employee to grow and step up for themselves. So because I watched a lot of that, and then just the nature of jujitsu, right? The nature of jujitsu is you get smashed and then you get smashed again and again and again, and for years. And, then you get a blue belt and you get a purple belt, you get a brown belt, you think you're hot stuff. And then you get a brown belt, some blue belt comes and smashes you. It's a never ending stream of humble pie. And so it breeds a human that doesn't give up, right? Because listen, if you've gotten a blue belt or one of these higher belts, you have some grit in you and you have some not quit in you. So all these things I saw in Peter, right? And you have to have the capacity. So I essentially have hired or partnered with the leader that I think is the avatar, right? And I'm convinced he has the capacity to lead dozens, if not hundreds of people. I believe he has the brain power. I believe he has the EQ, right? The emotional intelligence. We've had to let some people go. And the way he lets people go is with compassion and, brevity, right? So, I know this is, again, these answers are all over the place because it's in aggregate, right? You have to judge all this stuff in aggregate. There's not one silver bullet to anything complicated in life, right? There's great, sales guys got to sell more, right? Producers got to produce more, sure, right? But there's, many a slip between the cup and the lip, right? You got to have all those details organized and managed. And so I'm always looking for people who can do all of those things, and they're rare. They're rare. And I guess the last thing I'll say about this pulling out a leader, like I never set out to be a leader, right? I never said, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to have a bunch of, that's my thing, right? I'm going to take leadership classes and this, leader that. It just happens, right? It just happens by the direction you're going in life, at least for me. It just happens by the direction you're moving, the things you want to accomplish, the leverage points you're acknowledging, right? And at the end of the day in business, you have to leverage what you can, right? So you leverage technology, right? That's what you do with Streamline Business Media, right? You leverage technology to, spread the Dan Gomerness out into the world, right? You leverage capital, right? So Scott's a lender. We borrow a bunch of money, right? We lend money. You got to leverage capital, and then you got to leverage people, right? And that is not a bad thing because they're leveraging you, right? They're leveraging you who's built a machine, who leads a machine in order for them to make money. So those are the three big levers I see right off the top of my head in business, right? It's capital, it's technology, and it's people, right? And so you just, at least for me, finding myself in these leadership positions, I didn't set out to be the captain of the ship here. I end up, because I'm excited about things and I like to start things, I end up being there, right? And now I've matured to the point where I don't want to be the head of everything. I need other people, right? And so I have partners. I have partners in almost every deal I do now. In fact, it would take me a sec to think of any endeavor I have where I don't have a partner, right? I've got a partner on Streamline Business Media, got a partner in SprayNet. I have a partner in the ag private lending game. I mean, I don't have anything where I don't have other people that I lean on. Because frankly, I got a lot of holes in my game, right? I need a lot of help. And so I find partners that can help. It's really that simple.
There's a lot to unravel in that one.
I know. I just get talking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I definitely have a few questions come up, but I'll let you go first, Scott, because I've been talking the whole time.
I guess the question, it sounds to me like you really took the time to sit down and identify what you're looking for, not only in a human, well, not only in a leader, I guess, but in a human to partner with some of these types of things, right? Like with every business, it seems like you really took the time to do that. So walk through that process of what that looks like to identify the characteristics of pros and cons on the business side, and then also on the human side.
Well, I'm eyeballs deep in SprayNet right now, so I'm going to refer to that example. So again, Peter, who's my partner, and he's a minority partner now, but he's got a path to essentially owning half the company, a path of which I'm happy to provide for him. So on the human side, I enjoy him. I like him. He's my friend. We joke around. We can, we joke around in let's say, listen, we're not afraid to do very off-color jokes with one another, call each other names, and just that kind of sports mentality, I guess, or the it's just rough. We play rough. We do jujitsu together, right? And so and it's all in good fun, and I love the guy, and so we've gone to battle not only on the mat but now in business. And as a human, I like him. As a human, I respect him. I respect his ethics. I respect his morals. I respect how he holds himself to high standards in regards to operating with his family and his friends. All that stuff that I want in a friend is there. And on the other side, he's a smart, capable human being, right? He's got skills to focus. He can solve problems. He doesn't get, when times get tough, which they will always get tough. When times get tough, he doesn't tuck tail and run, right? He stands and gets it. It's one of those, this is the analogy. We're jujitsu guys. We don't go around fighting people, right? We never do that. But the analogy of, if I got in a fight, I know he'd have my back. That matters to me, right? That matters to me a lot. And so, he's got all those human aspects and the business aspects. And I'm not, he's got the attitude, and the attitude is both in his personal life and his professional life. So all of the above, you'll hear me say a lot, in aggregate, right? I think you want to judge your wealth in aggregate. It's not a pile of cash. It's your wealth in time, your health, your family, your friends, your recreation. All those things in aggregate make a good life. Well, same thing with choosing a business partner. It has to mean something. It has to be a good fit in aggregate. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and along those lines, if we're talking in aggregate, so here's why you partner with Peter, right? But what makes you a good leader for Peter, right? Like what is it that you, as the leader in this situation, What is it about that you bring to the table? Like, what do you focus on as the leader to make sure that you're getting the most out of people, that you're keeping them engaged, those kinds of things?
Well, I do what he does with the rest of our staff is I generally care about him. And I genuinely know what he wants out of this relationship, right? He wants someone he can count on. He wanted equity in a business that was his own, right? He wanted to grow a business that he had equity in. He never owned a company before. And I said, hey, dude, I can make that happen. I need him to run crews. I'm not a good practitioner of running a 70-person crew, divided up into, say 4 pods. He is. So I needed him and he needed me, right? I helped him get into real estate. I helped him, leverage capital. I've shown him, how to be, a limited partner, right? An LP in a deal. So there's some stuff that I know that he wants to know, and he's told me all this. Obviously, I'm not forcing any of this on him. He asked me. And so I said, hey, dude, I can make this happen for you. Like, do this, do that, try that. And so, we got him into an investment property. We got him owning a company. Now he owns, a portion of another company. He's a martial, I'm an MMA coach. So he's got a little coaching company. He gets to learn in me how you manage, a bunch of deals at once. So there's a lot of upside for him. And it's got to be a win-win. And I know people poo-poo the win-win-win talk, but I'm all about it, right? I don't want to be in a relationship in any way, shape, or form where everybody's not thriving. And I genuinely want that. And he knows that, and I know that of him. So that's what he's getting out of me.
And in order to do that, what I heard is communication. You had to ask him, hey, what do you need? What do you want? What's your pain point? Let me see how I can help you. Because until you have that conversation, you have no idea what value to provide,
Well, yeah, exactly. The communication is essential. You don't let things fester, when the problems occur and someone drops the ball, like you get after it, right? You don't push it down to be talked about later or never be talked about again until it explodes. It's just basic emotional intelligence stuff. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I've done dozens and dozens of companies and made, far more than dozens and dozens of mistakes as well. So it took a while to get to these points, right? And just like he's worked with, hundreds of jiu-jitsu coaches, for example, and Muay Thai coaches, hundreds. He's opened jiu-jitsu academies from scratch. He's put out fires. I've watched him do all that. I don't have that experience. I mean, I've never employed more than 5 people in my life. It's been the most I've ever employed is 5 people, right? He's been in charge of 80. So I need him, he needs me. And we articulate what we want out of life, right? Our free time, our cash flow, time with our family. What do we want with our kid? All the stuff, right? And then we build stuff together.
One of the things I keep hearing you say without saying it is lifting the cap. Do you understand that? Have you ever heard that term before?
No.
So lifting the cap pretty much means that you're really good about seeing opportunities when they come about and not being limited on your thinking with the potential opportunities. And it seems like you pull a lot of that lifting the cap, not only out of yourself, but out of other people as well. What do you contribute that to?
That's a good question. There's a little, I'm anti-authority, right? I don't want a job. I've had a job for all of about, 9 months out of the last 25 years. I've worked for somebody. I tried it. I gave it the good old college try. I'm just better at running my own ship and being an entrepreneur. I don't know. I was blessed to be able to do a lot of stuff when I was a kid. I guess I got to do all the sports, any sport I wanted. My parents didn't spoil me with stuff. They didn't buy me a lot of stuff. But boy, they made opportunities for me to do a lot of things. So I did all the sports and I did DECA and FBLA and, you name it, any interest, they were supportive enough to facilitate that. So that was a blessing. and I'm just curious, I mean, this world is so infinitely abundant with options, right? It just blows me away, the diversity of human existence on planet Earth. It just blows me away, and all the things we can do. And for whatever reason, I've dropped down here in the United States and colorful Colorado, and my brain works halfway decent, and my body works halfway decent, and I have an opportunity to do a lot of stuff. So I guess I'm just seizing the opportunity, right? I guess there's the best answer I can offer.
Hey guys, Dan Gomer here with the Leaders Gotta Lead podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you are enjoying the content, and if you are, I've got great news because there's more where that came from. Just click on the link in the show notes to discover new ways to plug into what we're doing, to find new content that we're putting out, and to discover how we might be able to work together to elevate your leadership game. Just click on the link in the show notes, and let's take our leadership success to the next level.
I love it. I mean, I keep hearing you talk and how you're like pulling it out of on this paint thing that you have, and like pulling it out, and like you're always looking for opportunities, and there's nothing that you're limited on, it seems like. I mean, your diversity in businesses and everything else, like you're truthfully passionate about all of that. So you have 18 businesses, is that right?
No, I don't have 18. He was exaggerating.
Just like Scott has 18 kids.
I do. I guess. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm a limited partner, an LP, so I invest in multifamily real estate and ag land, and I invest in debt, right? I have invest in private lending. But my big thing right now, I've got two main focuses, and they're symbiotic, right? All the stuff I do is symbiotic. I am eyeballs deep in SprayNet. I think it's the best opportunity I've seen in decades. It is by far the most cost-effective way to modernize and improve the value of a property. And this comes from somebody who's been doing that for 20 years on properties, right? So I've been in it. I've flipped houses. I've done a tremendous amount of buy and holds, syndication on small multifamily, all the way up to some private equity and larger multifamily packages. And then I've been a lender, and I've done a lot in the real estate space, and this is just the best opportunity I've seen. So I've got two real focuses right now. I'm focusing on SprayNet and growing that thing, and then my Streamline Business Media, my media company, supports that, right? So this video, for example, is gonna, after Dan's hit stop, right? It's uploaded to the Streamline Business Media, platform. And then the team takes it and chops it up and posts it all around, and off it goes. Right now, I maybe not. I know you've got a delay in this, so I won't speak to your posting schedule. But everything I do is symbiotic, right? And I should say I know my limits, right? And I know when to refer business out, and I know when to send certain paint jobs to traditional painters, for example, right? I know when to send, loans to specific lenders, right? I know when to send flips to specific flippers, and that I simply won't touch. And I also know my capacity. Listen, if there was a quantum physics franchise, right, and you can make $1 billion with this quantum physics franchise, I would say no, because I know I'm not smart enough. I'm not physics smart, right? I know what I got in calculus. I know how hard I had to work for that B, right? I know how I had to, bust my ass to get all the B's I got in all those hard classes. So I'm not going to do a quantum physics franchise, right? I'm going to do stuff that's within my capacity, that's within my network. And it doesn't mean I won't push myself, doesn't mean I won't explore, but I also have a sense of what I can do, and I'll always push myself, but I'm not out there trying to win the lottery, put it that way. Well, maybe I am. Everybody wants to win the lottery.
we all are. Who are we kidding?
Do you have a no person?
Do I have a no person? No, I don't. It's funny you say that, because I know I'm the no person for a lot of people. There's the happy Chris that you get right now. And there's also the grumpy Chris when people bring me deals, right? And I say no to 99 out of 100 deals. And people are always sending me, especially real estate deals, because that's what I've done for so long. and I to a degree, I'm the Grim Reaper. I'm where deals come to die. So I'm the no person for a lot of folks. But do I have a no? I have some friend. I have a good friend who is essentially a private equity coach, and he kind of slaps me around right when I need it. But no, I don't have that no person in my life. Tell me more, Scott, about the no. Dive deeper with that question, please.
So, a story I've heard is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire is a millionaire will typically do anything and everything, and then they lose their ass, for lack of a better term, right? A billionaire will always say yes to everything with 100% passion and ready to go with it. However, they have people in the background that are telling them yes or no to that deal, whether it's a financial advisor, an attorney, whatever it may be. So that's what I mean by that no person. Is there somebody that's like overlooking some of the stuff that you're saying yes to, and you're like, yeah, I want it, and then wait, they're reviewing this in the background and they're willing to say no?
Yeah, that reminds me of a Warren Buffett quote. I think it was Warren Buffett, maybe Charlie Munger, doesn't matter. Where they said, hey, take the 10 things you're interested in, right, in business, right, and rank them from most important to least. Your top 10. Okay, now scratch off 2 through 9 and avoid those and go all in on number 1. Yeah, I think that's a fair. Listen, I know, I was a musician. I played music for a living for 17 years. And I know that if I just played one instrument and I only focused on one, let's say, style of music, and I didn't have other interests outside of that, I know I would be a virtuoso, right? I know it. However, I think that for me, that would be a really poor life, right? I'm not built to be Edgar Meyer or Bela Fleck or any of those guys. I mean, those guys are legit, and they play with the best in the world, and they get opportunities that, other musicians only dream of, but they only do one thing: play the banjo, play the bass, play the violin, whatever it is. And I really, to get a little spiritual here, I don't think my soul came to be a master. I think I came here to explore. And if you ask, the 5-year-old Chris Lawhead what you came to do, I would say explore. So, and I'm okay not being a billionaire. I'm totally okay. I don't see, I've only known one billionaire. And I, known to the point where he and I would go to lunch and he would give me life advice. And he's an older gentleman, and he would always he didn't ask about my business. And I was there to learn business from him. Right. But all he would say is, are you taking care of your family? Right. He'd want to talk about the family at the beginning. And, because he learned some stuff the hard way with the family, right? He made trade-offs the hard way, and he has regrets the hard way to get to that, that the big billionaire status. So, I bring it back to those no people. I mean, I certainly have attorneys. I have multiple attorneys, and I have advisors that are smarter than me, and I have CPAs and, a bookkeeper, and, I have some people to kind of keep me in the rails, in the guardrails to a degree. But I'm trying to be wealthy in aggregate, right? And that means everything: health, wealth, family, friends, adventures, travel, all those things.
Well, I think that there's a lot in there. First of all, knowing what our purpose is, what our mission is, what we're good at, what we're not good at. Like, I think a big problem that a lot of leaders fall into is they try to do everything, right? And some of us maybe have a better compass than others of like, I should say yes to this and no to that. Whereas other people might need somebody in the background going, hey, hello, like, we've talked about this. You don't want to do this. Stop it. But at the end of the day, no matter what the system is that's in place to make sure that we're staying in alignment with what it is that we should be doing, it's if we don't have that, then things go off the rails. And now we said this before in these interviews, is we're a ship without a captain. We're just kind of all over the place, just like, there's no order, there's no intention to anything that we're doing. And without that, how can you lead somebody if you have no idea where the heck you need to be or where it is that you're going? And, there was another thing that came up, you were talking about this billionaire that came and, you got to have lunch with them and talk with them and stuff. What was some of the best advice that you got from him, specifically just because of the show that we're on, specifically related to leadership? Did he teach you anything about that made you change the way that you operate as a leader, whether it's within your family or your friends or your businesses or whatever?
Well, I hope I would have made this decision without him. But he really pushed the point home, that your kids will never be 2 years old again. Right. And you can always make money. Money's way easier to make than growing a family and keeping a family together. Right. And so what are you optimizing for? One of my childhood buddies is a big money manager, and his dad was a really smart engineer. And his dad told him something that I later watched on his podcast years later. And he said, "You're optimizing for the wrong thing." Right. Or a better question, what are you optimizing for? Right. So if you're optimizing for a pile of money, that's something to optimize for. Right. Are you optimizing for a good relationship with your wife and kids? I think that's a more compelling thing to optimize for. Are you optimizing for, all of the above, where you can have enough money to live a comfortable lifestyle, to thrive, to travel, to be secure, and a happy, healthy family? Right. So what are you optimizing for? That's what I got out of, this incredibly successful, well-known real estate investor. Is if he could do it over again, he would have optimized for a healthy family, as opposed to optimize for, the most success in real estate possible.
And he may not have been a billionaire.
That's right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Listen, another thing I've learned too, as I've gotten into private equity and kind of rubbed elbows with some very, high net worth folks, and just because you have $100 million or $500 million or $30 million, you got many millions of dollars, does not make you happy, does not make you satisfied, does not make you healthy. It just means you have a lot of money, right? And there is sacrifices to achieve those things, right? And some of those sacrifices for me and my journey here are not even remotely worth it, right? I go dirt biking on Wednesdays. That's what I do every Wednesday. As long as I can, the weather's good, my buddies are in, I'm on a dirt bike, having fun with my friends. If I didn't dirt bike and I worked every Wednesday, worked my butt off, I'd make more money, right? But would I be happier? No. Would I be more fit? No. Would I have this, regular micro adventure that I love? No. So what am I optimizing for, right? And again, what do you want out of a life in aggregate, not just out of one thing?
I want to kind of dig a little deeper into this too, because you do rub elbows with very high net worth people. You know a billionaire. You have multiple businesses. How do you delegate? That's the best way I could ask that question. How do you delegate?
First, I'm not the master delegator, and I'm working on it. I'm getting help. I bring in partners. I'll tell you some delegation stuff that I've learned recently, and this is from personal experience. Like, this is fresh, and from people that are further along the entrepreneurial journey, right? When you delegate, you've got to be okay with those people not doing it your way. You've got to be okay with them making mistakes. You've got to be okay with them making big mistakes. And there's only one way everybody's going to really learn, and that's to do it, whatever it is, right? So I put a few rules in place, right? If you're on the team, depending on the team, right? Whatever team, let's just say you put a price on them figuring out a solution and say, hey, if this is a $500 problem, I want you to just do it. You don't call me, don't ask me. You have the green light to spend $500 to save the problem, and then just tell me what it was and why'd you do it, right? Then I use the 1-3-1 rule, where if you've got a problem that you can't figure out, one, you can't just dump a problem on me, right? And I had to, this is a new thing that I've instituted in the last few months, right? If you've got a problem and you call me about it, you've got to state the problem. You've got me give me 3 options to solve that problem, and then give me 1 recommendation. Which one of those 3 would you do? It's the 1-3-1 rule. I didn't make this up. A lot of business, this might be a Alex Hermosi thing, or this somebody smarter and sharper than me gave me this idea. And it's amazing how much weight it's taken off me, because I was fielding 20, 30, 40 problems a morning, sometimes before 8 o'clock. And I was losing my mind, right? I was going bonkers. Institute the 1-3-1 rule. Now somebody's pretty much figured it out before they call me, right? And then you add that to the $500 rule, right? And they say, okay, well, I was going to call Chris with this problem, but instead I did the 1-3-1, and I figured out I could solve this problem for $300, and I just did it. And I'm like, high five, boom, yes, right? Now, swing on the other side. I delegated a problem. I gave the guy an employee the green light. They made a choice that I thought was a very bad choice. But I didn't scream at him. I didn't yell at him. I said, hey, I would have made this different choice. I'm going to support you in this choice, right? We're going to do a little damage control. And next time I would not do this, I would do that, right? But I'm not upset. I'm not yelling. I'm not hooting and hollering. I'm not scolding, because I want them to make that decision. And I said, hey, I'm going to let you make this decision again and again and again, because I believe in that person. And I want them to be, strong, independent thinker and be on the team and all that. So I'm not the guy. I think it's madness when people make a mistake in business or in government and then they're just fired, right? You want to hire the people that have made dozens of mistakes, because nothing, teaches you as much as a mistake. Nothing. So does that answer your question?
It does. So, I mean, I just gotta say mic drop real quick, because if you're a leader, or if you are being led by somebody that does not know this 1-3-1 rule, and you bring that to them or implement that in your business, that's going to save you so much headache. And I love the $500 rule, or whatever that dollar amount is per the business, right? Like if it's a $50 or $500 or $5,000, I don't depends on the business, right? And what you're willing to lose. I think that is the smartest way, one, to delegate, but two, to also grow people in a capacity, and then to also understand where their mind's coming in. Like, why is their mind coming in of choosing this one? Well, now I know, because I've implemented the 1-3-1 rule. And now I can go back and review it with them and say, hey, this isn't the route that I would have chose. I would have chose this route, but I'm still going to support you, and let's get the damage control done. So I mean, that's like mic drop for Leaders Gotta Leave right there, is 1-3-1. 1-3-1 with the price tag.
Yeah.
It's gold, man. It's gold.
All right. Well, we're coming up on time here, but I've got one more pretty direct question. Who, living, dead, fake, who is one leader that really stands out to you as somebody that you look up to or want to emulate in their leadership style, and why is that?
I've got a few, right? And I have this board of directors. You know about the board of directors, my imaginary board of directors, that I just have all these imaginary people, living and dead, and I just pretend they're walking with me. I walk around the block and I ask them questions. So off the top
and all the neighbors are like, oh, here comes that guy talking to himself again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Off the top of my head, I mean, let's take 2 living guys, and I've got a lot of value out of both these guys. Super famous. It's, Jocko and, Joe Rogan. Let's take the 2 biggest, Jocko and Joe Rogan, right? Jocko's video where I don't know if you've seen that video. It's good, where he says good. one of his team members comes to him and he goes, I don't have the gear I want. Good. You're going to get better by figuring out how to work with the gear you got. We're underfunded. Good. You're going to be more efficient with the funding you got. All these problems. And he just says, good. It's a great video. I'm not doing any justice here, but check that out. Yeah. So that's some leadership I really appreciate. And then you take someone like Joe Rogan, who, immensely successful, right? And he's out there lifting up comedians, lifting up his friends. He has his friends on his podcast, his comedian friends, so they can get more notoriety. I mean, he's lifting up his crew, right? It's not all about him. It's about the crew. Or, even better, Tony Hinchcliffe. Have you seen Kill Tony? Kill Tony is a great podcast. It's a comedian podcast where they bring on all these new comedians and they give them 1 minute, right? And they got 1 minute to do a show in front of them. And then they have a panel of seasoned veteran comedians. And Tony launches all this great talent that you would have never known in the comedy scene. And it's him. He's lifting them up. I'm sure he's mentoring them to some degree. He's taking them on tour. He's giving them opening spots. He brought the whole Kill Tony podcast to Madison Square Garden. Those guys and they're having fun doing it, right? They are laughing their asses off the whole time, right? Yeah. And I'm sure it's hard, and I'm sure there's technical difficulties. I'm sure they have all the challenges that everybody else has. And they are, shoulder to shoulder loyal dudes to one another, right? Like Rogan's crew is loyal to Rogan and he's lifting them up. Tony Hinchcliffe's crew is loyal to Tony. I mean, how can you not be loyal to somebody who takes nobodies, gives them a minute? If they're good, he has them on again. If they're super good, they give them what's called a golden ticket, which means they can come on the show anytime. They have I think they have I forget what it's called, but they've got like an honor roll or a history or something, whatever it is. You get to be, in the Hall of Fame of Kill Tony. And these are guys who just came from nothing, no notoriety, and now they're making a living. So talk about leadership, right? Yeah. You're just out there lifting people up. And by that end, Tony, Joe, Jocko, they're all getting lifted up too. People are buying Jocko's books. People are listening to Joe's podcast. People are listening to Kill Tony podcast and buying tickets to their comedy tours, right? It's this, the sum of all parts. What's that saying? You just all come up together and you're bigger and better than you ever had a chance to be alone.
For me, the summary of what you just said is a great leader picks people up, because if you pick people up, they'll pick you up. Then you've got symbiotic relationship. You've got loyalty going both ways. You've got people working together. 1 + 1 = 3. But it all begins with coming from a place of, how can I help you? How can I lift you up? How can I make your life better? And if we do that to the people that we are leading, then that is what makes a good leader.
I agree. Listen, I am rooting for everybody I work with, right? I'm rooting for you, Dan. You're a client of Streamline Business Media. You're my friend. I like you. I'm rooting for you. If ever I get a chance to help you, I will. I know that you're rooting for me. That's why you've had me on your podcast. That's why you've invited me to your, big real estate events, right? And I'm rooting for Peter. And I know Peter's rooting for me. And I'm rooting for my SprayNet crew. And I know they're rooting for me. And if they're not rooting for me, then eventually we're going to notice that misalignment and they got to go. Right. And I know this sounds super kumbaya, and it is kumbaya. I want to live in a kumbaya world. Right?
But you're also a business owner, and you're making shit happen. So Can you have kumbaya and still get shit done? I guess so.
Fuck yeah, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Scott, do you have anything to add as we wrap up here?
No, I'm still blown away. I'm still like processing the 1-3-1 rule. So I love that.
I know. I wrote it down on my Post-it note. I'm like, yes, I'm doing that.
That is implemented like today. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, credit to whoever. I saw that on YouTube, but that is gold.
Yeah. So Chris, if people want to get to know you better, they want to support you, they want to find out about SprayNet, they want to find out about Streamline, whatever it is, they want to go mountain biking or not mountain biking, dirt biking. How do people get a hold of you?
So I own SprayNet Douglas County. Just Google SprayNet Douglas County, and you can get a hold of us if you want. If you want your roof sprayed or your gutters, doors, stucco, brick, kitchen cabinets. SprayNet Douglas County. You can also find us Streamline Business Media. We're not hard to find. I'm on LinkedIn and all the socials, but I don't spend too much time on those. In fact, it's fairly hard to get to me there. If you want to get to me, call Dan. Just kidding. No, we're here
to delegate.
Yeah, we're just here to have win-wins with all our clients and all our staff members. And I just say, I'm eyeballs deep into SprayNet. I'm so stoked on it. It is probably the biggest opportunity that I've seen, and the biggest win for our clients, win for our staff, win for the ownership. So SprayNet Douglas County, give us a shout.
Right on. Well, thank you, Chris, for being on the show. Crushed it, man. Lots of great nuggets in here. If you're watching this, first of all, we all have some type of leadership role in our life, but if you're a leader, we would love to connect with you. And I know that goes for all three of us. We want to connect with more great leaders. We want to connect with more people who are trying to make the world a better place. We want to connect with more people that want to pick other people up. And so if that's you, if you're watching this, reach out to one of us. We'd love to have you on the show, or just build a relationship with you, see how we can support one another and make the world just a little bit better. So Chris Lawhead, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, guys.